Hey, Plus SideZ community, before we jump into the podcast, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. This helps us get referred up in the algorithm so we can find more people that need our help and guidance from our doctors. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Let's jump in. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault. If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
Welcome. We're at episode 11.
Holy smokes! 11.
I know. 11? It has not been 11 episodes.
I know.
Wow.
11 of the Plus SideZ Podcast, Cracking the Obesity Code. If you're new here, what are you doing? We've been looking for you.
We're glad you're here, though.
We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. We
Catch
get
up.
about 100 to 200 new people every week. So we're stoked that you're here. But we're going to tell you a little bit about what this is about, a little bit about ourselves, and then we'll get started. So this podcast was born out of the TikTok community for GLP-1s, like support with obesity, type 2, insulin resistance, PCOS. We all met there, started taking these medications, which have completely changed our lives in many, many different ways and in different use cases is kind of how I look at it. And then we thought, you know what? There's so much misinformation out there, or lack thereof information, or incomplete information. We should try to have a podcast where we all come together, where we tell our stories, where our testimonials matter and they're not being cut and positioned for someone else's agenda to further it. So that's what we're doing here. So we are going to talk about a lot of different things, but we back it up with facts or science or data, to make sure
Or
that
science.
you know what we're or science, to know that what we are saying is true. Anyway, so I'm Kim. I'm a nut. And we're glad to have you here. I currently take Wegovy. I've been doing this for about a year. I've lost 60 pounds. This has completely changed my life, improved my mental health, and all the things and all the ways, got rid of food noise for me. I have a completely different lifestyle. I eat better. I exercise, and I actually enjoy it for the first time, which is huge. So for our new people, because we are learning now that we have so many episodes, right, that they are actually picking episodes that kind of resonate with them and then starting from the beginning. So for people that maybe have chosen this episode, especially since I think that this is one that resonates pretty well with you, Kat, tell me a little bit about who you are and why you're here.
So you can follow me on Kat Carter7 on TikTok. I do butt stuff with Kat.
Lots of butt stuff.
I do.
All above board.
It's all above board. Right. It's Kat's butt stuff. So we're talking about squats, leg lifts, your stuff bands. For your bum. Yeah, bands to make you dance.
That's a new hashtag for your bum. I love it.
So I've always loved to work out, and I've always liked to, I always struggled with binge eating disorder. Always been on a crash diet, slim fast, puking, it goes for low carb.
We'll talk about it here.
Right? All of it. But I like to work out. I think for me, it's a pillar for your mental health. Gotta do it every day. It's non-negotiable. So that's a big part of it. But now I feel like my physical fitness can also match with, I guess, my mental fitness, if that's if you look at it like that with the Mounjaro, because it did reduce the food noise. I don't feel like I want to swallow or inhale an entire pizza every couple of days. And that's really freeing. It's very, very freeing. So, but I am I call it a slow loser. I like to incorporate balance. I'm a Libra, so I think it's all about balance. So I will have my vino, I will have a piece of chocolate, and if it puts me down half a pound or say the same for a week, so be it. I'm trying to learn how to live fully all the way with it. But 60 pounds down, on and off, Mounjaro, and that's it in a nutshell. Yeah, because I'm a nut.
Sometimes you feel like
you're like an nut.
Yeah. So, Janine, what about you? Who are you?
Yeah, she has a lock of Prince's hair. That's it.
Yeah, that's why. That's the reason. We also drink water here. You're going to see rando, not cute things in the picture. Although you're black.
Okay, because
I got me a Stanley.
I know.
It's purple tie-dye. I'm like, that's like the plus size.
And
but I can't decide if I should desecrate it with a sticker.
It is tie-dye. It isn't just the solid Stanley. You got the tie-dye Stanley.
I did. I went all
You're just a little extra fancy. But everyone, because we're all on GLP-1 medications, you will see us have at least 2 beverages. Yeah. That is our life right now. We are going to double fist all the time. So I am Janine Trott. I'm on TikTok at the Janine. I'm a Virgo. Woohoo. And yes.
Just say it like that. Woohoo.
Look, woohoo. Because being a Virgo is a superpower. Beyonce is a Virgo.
That's why we say woohoo.
Steve Jobs was a Virgo. Michael Jackson was a Virgo. We make the world go round. So thus, here I am. But I am not just having an autoimmune disease. I suffer with obesity. I am a Sjogren's warrior. That's what we call ourselves now. So I just learned that. So I have Sjogren's syndrome, but then also I'm a type 2 diabetic. But those don't define me. Right. Those are just some comorbidities that I deal with. But Mounjaro has effectively dealt and is dealing with each of those. I was pretty much 200 pounds. As of January 2023, I was in the obese category. I was well into the obese category. Yeah. Now I'm happy to be overweight.
Yay! Party time.
That's official.
So you know what, just from years of now looking back of seeing that I was probably insulin resistant. We didn't talk about it, like 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I had never heard of it until recently, until I became a member of this community. And due to diabetes and hormonal changes, I started gaining weight really when I was about 30 years old. It just started creeping and creeping, and I couldn't understand. I started growing hair on my chin and on the side of my face. I just thought it was part of the aging process.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm here. And that's just the part of my story. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to listen to more of your story, that's episode 2, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is.
Is it episode 2 or episode 3? It's one of them.
I think you're
One of those.
2, and then I think Kat is 3 because she was moving. And then
Or
I
1,
think
2, 3.
I know I'm the first one. So if you want to listen to like more detailed, then you can go there. But that's like the gist. And definitely this is your first one. We hope you stay and you start from the beginning. But here's how we roll here.
Yeah.
So we're all friends. Huzzah. We all live in Atlanta. Yay. And on the beginning of the episode, we kind of just talk. And then after that, we have on a community guest. So something that's really important to all of us is for people to be able to share their testimonials without being filtered, without being cut. And so our guest today is Rebecca. So I'm going to go ahead and invite her in. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey,
Welcome
Rebecca.
to the scrappiest podcast in the land.
I
We're
love
so glad
it.
you could be here.
Love it.
Totally scrappy.
So how are you doing? We're so glad you're here.
I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be here. It's pretty exciting. I'm not going to lie, though. I'm really nervous.
You don't have to be nervous.
Oh.
This is not live. And
Okay, well.
if it's hard, I'll just cut it out. You know what I mean? So
Great.
you don't have
Awesome.
to worry. You can pass
Okay.
gas in peace. And
Sweet.
everything's cool.
Just hit mute. You're
don't even have
fine.
to
Mute button right now.
But yeah, so that's what this is going to be for you. And I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit is I want you to just tell us your story. And I know you've done that several ways on TikTok. You're documenting a lot of your journey. But for some people that aren't on TikTok, we want them to know it too, because the chances of at least one person saying, that sounds like me is very strong. And as I was listening to your story, something that a theme that just continued to come up for me was the fact that you were very athletic and that you have been dealing with being in sort of this obese box category stigma like your whole life. And I thought that would just be the perfect thing for the episode is for us to talk about why it's not always about eat less, move more. And of course, we also have Dr. Matea Rentea that will come on after and talk about a lot of the clinical sides of this and why these things make sense.
Hey, have you remembered to comment, like, subscribe, share, click the reminder bell wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast? If not, please do it now so that you can help us grow and help more people. We love you. Hope you're enjoying the show.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I have my own TikTok. It is Rebecca on Mounjaro. And I have lost 60 pounds, 63-ish pounds actually, since I started in September 25th of 2022. I started out on Ozempic for 6 weeks. I lost about 24 pounds. I didn't do any exercise at that point. Then I had to get onto Mounjaro because I couldn't get Ozempic. And when I started on Mounjaro, I stayed on there for about 2.5 months, just so that I could see how the medicine worked without working out. And then I started working out, and things have been just moving along, progressed pretty fast up until recently where I've stalled. So going back into my history, though, so I have always done some sort of athletic activity. I danced for a long time, but I was always the heavier ballet dancer. You know, all of the girls in the class were lanky and tall and slender, and anyway.
Right.
And I was just the short one. So I always, not that anybody ever said you're the fat ballerina, but that's just how I felt. And, you know, I don't think I overate as a child, and honestly didn't ever think about it. But then there were times, especially as I look back now, where I was like hiding my eating. So that sort of all started at that younger age. When I got into high school, we did a BMI test, And that's when a coach told me, after doing like the whole pinch test thing, that they do with the big plastic grippers, and they have you stand on the scale. He told me that I was obese, even though I was about 135 pounds and I was still dancing. I always considered myself relatively athletic build, had like big thighs, relatively bigger rear. So, but when he said that also just kind of tanked and declined everything and how I felt. So that's kind of where it started, that he told me I needed to lose weight. Then as an adult, I was just never good enough. I was never, pretty enough, skinny enough, whatever enough for men in particular. So, I'd gain weight, would be like, hey, you need to do this, that, and the other. It's embarrassing. It's whatever. I would work out all the time. I've done kickboxing. I've done, most recently CrossFit. I've done everything in between: yoga, spin classes, swimming, aerobics, and 5:00 in the morning. You name it, I've done it. I've been on every restrictive diet: Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Noom. I started doing like factor meals where I would only eat just like those specific meals and count my calories. I've always logged food to the point where it's become obsessive. Like, it just distracted from my everyday life, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. I've had gallbladder surgery where I was told I wouldn't gain any weight, and then I did, and no one could give me any answers about that. I had a hysterectomy in like 2020. I was also told I wouldn't gain weight, and then continued to gain weight. That's when they started to do tests, but all my tests came back as relatively normal range, and the doctor wasn't willing to delve any deeper into that. Instead, it was just eat better, or eat how you're, like eat well and exercise. Just keep doing that and you'll be fine. And then I think what really kicked it off at the very end was in January 2020, my best friend and I were like, that's it. We're going to the gym. We're going to do this. We're going to knuckle down. And in, 8 months or something, I lost 21 pounds. We were just getting frustrated, my friend in particular, because she wasn't really losing anything at all. We were doing there 4 days a week. We were eating relatively well. She was just eating salads, which is not necessarily the right thing to do when you're working out and lifting weights and stuff. But that's what she thought she needed to do, because that's what society has told her to do. Eat less, move more. And so we just kind of gave up, as one does after they've, worked really hard at something. And then that was it. I gained back all of that weight in the 2 months. I went back to my doctor yet again and said, look, I've been here numerous times for the same thing. What's going on with me? Why can't I have answers? What can I do? What will make this better? And we talked about bariatric surgery at that point, because it had gotten, to that degree. And I told her I looked into that and my insurance wouldn't cover it. So then she said, hey, what about Mounjaro? And that's how it led me to this. And Mounjaro has been the only thing that has allowed me to move my body and eat right, but not restrict myself or feel like I'm, not living in the moment or being able to be happy or have a treat, and still lose weight and still feel good and be healthy. My mental state is better. And I think it's really important to get the word out about that. So that's kind of it in a condensed nutshell.
Well, that was a great condensed nutshell.
I tried not to make it 31 minutes again.
No, was that what it was? I don't know.
It was a long, yeah.
Honestly, we were all texting about it and we were just enthralled. We thought it was so relatable. And, I think it's really... I remember that, but you and I are pretty close to the same age. So I remember that in high school when they brought out that pension thing. I remember that. And I was obese then. And I was also, I would say I was active, but I wasn't athletic. I was like always just average at kind of everything. And my mom was like, that means you're athletic, right? If you're average at everything. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that's what that means, but I was like that too. But like I did things in school and I was very active, but I was obese too. Now I have always been that way. It was more just like I wanted to be funny so that people like wouldn't notice. You know what I mean? But it didn't matter. I never could lose more than 20 pounds at a time, ever. And then when I got older, my magic number was 30. And that is if I white knuckled it really, really good, you know? So I can totally relate why. And I was all over the place. I'm a social butterfly. Like I was all doing everything. So it wasn't like I wasn't moving. It wasn't like I was fat and lazy, but for sure, that's what people thought. And the only way I could find a way around that is to be funny. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think we all kind of find different things. But you also mentioned some stuff, and if you don't mind sharing, around kind of like, and this is up to you, like I can cut it out, but if, around society and, kind of what the expectation was for you, especially like within relationships, or how you felt like, I remember you specifically talking about like not feeling you were either too big or too small. Like, and it was always like you were not enough or too much, know? And I remember that in your story and that really like hitting me. And if you want to share about that, I can imagine others may feel that way.
Yeah, there's one time in particular, and I hate telling this story because I feel my dad never meant it, I don't think, to be hurtful. Yeah. But I had just had my second kiddo. I think he was about 6 months old. And I got all dolled up for dinner, and I went down to meet my dad and my stepmom, and he turns to me and he says, "Oh, wow." Okay, I was divorced at the time. I had my kiddo. We got divorced, so I was single. And he goes, "Rebecca, you could have any man you wanted if you just lost weight." Oh. And I was like,
Dad.
Right. Like he was trying to be encouraging, and he was trying to say, "Hey, you could meet a great guy." But it was like, oh my God. And the killer part about that now is I was 175 pounds, which wow. I would give my right arm to be back to 175.
Same.
Right. But yet my dad has been one of the first people to say, now that I'm at 185 pounds again, he has said, "Wow, you look so skinny. You look great." So tell me how that is. And then when I was 135 pounds, my gym teacher is telling me I'm obese, but yet at 185 pounds, people are telling me I look great. So it's like, there's so much, and I don't know how you do swearing on here, but it's a mind fuck.
We swear.
Totally we swear. Okay. But it is.
We've all said it before.
Right. Yeah. How are you supposed to know what's right and what's wrong? You're never enough. You just aren't.
Yeah. Right. And then like, why do you, why, who gave, I guess, society, who gave exterior people permission to
exactly
what is enough or is not enough?
Yeah. And I recently had, like a guy at work. I think it was almost like he was trying to degrade my weight loss. Like he was asking me questions about it and he was excited, but then he said something degrading about it. It was like he didn't want me to have that high in life or feel good, So
it does seem like when we do lose weight that people just don't always know what to say, especially if it was evident that we were quite large before, as opposed to like, I think 10, 20 pound kind of weight loss comments, especially on these medications and all the controversy around them. Like it drives me insane when someone will say to me, "Keep it up." Right. Because all I hear when they say that is you are not enough and you haven't done enough yet. And it reminds me of every single time I ever failed before.
Absolutely.
But they don't always know what to say. And that seems to be, and like, just like you said, your dad was probably saying, "You are so freaking fabulous." And men are what they are. And if you were to lose a little bit of weight, you could get whoever you wanted. But it came across like, just shit,
Right.
My dad one time told me I ate 2 pieces of bacon and 2 eggs and a piece of toast. And he told me I ate a lumberjack breakfast. And it was stuff like that. And he probably didn't mean it. Like he's trying to give me, like, I would say, like a lens of what health should look like. Right. But all I heard was, you're too much. You're eating too much. You're too much, and that stuff just doesn't help. Now I have a lot of grace for my parents, too, because I don't think my dad meant to hurt my feelings, but it did. And those kinds of people, I think too, part of the conversation is it's also not okay. Just tell people they look great. Just tell people they're doing well. Like, you don't have to go into this like really weird stuff, you know,
Right.
or try to
Exactly.
and the fact that people even have to find out what it is you're doing, it speaks to the fact that we've been doing it wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, all of us have been doing it wrong.
Yeah.
If we have to have a new conversation every time you lose weight about what you're doing, clearly eat less, move more was not the solution, because you're having it again and you're feeling like you need to ask somebody else about it, you know? Anyway, sorry, tangent.
I just
Rebecca
think
and I are friends.
but I think Rebecca's story and almost all of our stories kind of go into, if this is the right word, the warped sense of beauty that society has and really had, but it's evolving and, you know, has had for women. And it's like, you know, no, you don't have to be stick thin, but for some reason that was the standard of beauty.
Yeah.
And I think we, you know, we're all trying to, you know, be accepted in some way and be what we thought the best version of us was. And that was to be thin. But it's like, well, who was, you know, beauty magazines to tell us, well, this is how you should be looking. Okay, well, are you saying I should look emancipated? I mean, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like with this whole, you know, Ozempic Mounjaro butt thing. I mean, you know, you got Kardashians and booties. So now it's like, are we all insecure because our booties aren't big enough? So thank God for butt stuff. That's all I can say.
Thank God for
good job for the butt stuff. Right? But I mean, you know, that's what kills me is like, we can't ever be quite right. So it's like, where does it stop? And I guess that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
With where
I just stopped measuring myself. And I think, and I don't want to speak for Kat and Kim, but I think I can safely say that we're evolving into ourselves more, where it's like, whatever. Okay, so you might be 130 pounds. That may not work for me, but I think that through this podcast, we're learning to deal with things because, you know, Kat and Kim have had, you know, childhood hurt. Mine came later on in life, but, you know, hurt is hurt when people talk about your weight. That is personal. And it makes you sometimes doubt yourself. And it's like now Mounjaro has helped. I know, at least for me, I'm like, stuff I used to let slide before. I don't let it slide anymore. I'm like, nope. I'm like, stop.
It does sort of feel like you're your best. And you know, this is that too good to be true that you're going to hear from us sometimes, guys. But, you know, it does sort of feel like it helps you be your best self. Like, because your best self physically, not because you're thin, right? But because your body's working fucking right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're feeling better.
The thing is,
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not just like, I remember when I was talking to not my therapist, but my psychiatrist about it, and I was like, and I'm not sure that I'm, you know, and y'all know I've talked about it pretty openly before. I'm not sure that I have manic depression. I don't really have any of that at all. And she's like, well, that's because you're losing weight and feeling better. And I went, no, it's because I'm feeling better. That's what it is. It's not the weight loss. It's the fact that my mind is clear, which has made everything fall in line. And my mind is clear because my body's working right. And it wasn't before, you know, and it's hard to make people really understand like the power of that, the power of like the gut on the mind, you know, like that has fascinated me like crazy. Like, you know, it really is.
Definitely.
And I think that's why I'm so tired of people talking about like this medication being this appetite suppressant. Like, come on, guys, we have plenty of things we can take for appetite suppression. You know what I mean? We needed something to help our body work right. You know, and I think you're mentioning a lot of stuff about, you know, I think hormones, right? Where you were like, hey, like I had surgery, my body completely changed and started working differently. You know, I had, you know, 2 different surgeries where that happened and that people weren't necessarily looking deep enough. And I think that's something that we may also see too. I don't know about you guys, but until you go to specialists, that's when they're like, let me look a little deeper. Let me look a little deeper, you know, because, you know, general practitioners, they don't necessarily have the time to do any of that because they see so many patients, you know? But so I think it's just interesting to hear like we hear these commonalities, like the fact that you were always, very physical, and like Kat is like that too, right? She was always very active. Like she really was. And like the fact that you were a dancer and all that stuff, it's like obesity doesn't care. Like it picks whoever, like, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what your background is, what your body was like originally. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender you are. Like it will come for everyone. If
it's going to come for you.
It will come for you. Like that's the thing, that it is sort of universal, which in a way can help connect us. Right. So I really appreciate, you telling your story. It means a lot to us. And I know that there's somebody out there that feels very similar, and it'll be nice to hear somebody, for them to know they're not alone, and for the next part, we're going to talk about why it's not their fault. So now we know, but who really knows? Dr. Matea Rentea.
Heck yeah.
And she's back. Hey.
We're going to call you a friend of the show. That's what we're
Oh, she's
yes.
I've listened to you guys, even on the episodes I'm not on. I love this show. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, we're so glad to have you back. Yes. So, so first of all, hello, welcome. And second, I know you were able to hear Rebecca's story. Some of our friends I mentioned in the beginning may be new, and this may be their first episode where they were like, and then it gets them to other episodes. They may not have seen episode 3, which Dr. Matea Rentea is on, and you can go back and listen to it. It's an excellent episode. It is, if I just say so myself, but it's because we talk about, it just sounded funny. We talk about the death of diet culture, and we specifically talk about telehealth obesity and why, or clinics and practices, and why that has been, why there's been a rise in that and the need for it. So go back and listen to that episode. But going forward, we'll start talking a little bit about, Rebecca, about eating less and moving more. And that's kind of how we'll get started. But Dr. Rentea, if people don't know about you, can you kind of just give us sort of a intro of who you are and what you're about?
Hey, have you remembered to comment, like, subscribe, share, click the reminder bell wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast? If not, please do it now so that you can help us grow and help more people. We love you. Hope you're enjoying the show.
So thank you so much for having me on. I'm Dr. Matea Rentea. I'm board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. And I'm really passionate about this area. I'm someone that myself has been dealing with obesity my whole life, like literally since kindergarten, I can remember. So all of the stories, Rebecca, when you were just talking, I can relate to all of them. Everything from the comments from parents in school. I mean, it's sort of seared in there, And I just became, number one, I got more training. I started out as a primary care doctor, and then I realized we were never really getting to what was going on. We would kind of be like adjusting medications, but we never really got to what the problems were. And I found that when I did the obesity medicine board certification, I understood things so much more. So although I'd been practicing for a long time, I felt like I finally got some of that stuff that I was really missing.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of these medications, I think that you've heard that they've changed like the lives of a lot of us, and I know that you treat people that, have obesity, right? Like all of us. But I'm curious, in terms of hormones, like Rebecca talked about that quite a bit about she has PCOS, and she talked about, things with, I think it was a hysterectomy. Is that what you said, Rebecca?
Yeah.
And like, how does that affect, I would even say like, if we know it affects weight, but how does it affect obesity? And like, how is that sort of almost immovable,
Yeah.
Because she's exercised her face off, literally, but like, why is that?
So I feel like, everybody, like, the name of this podcast is, basically eat less, move more. That's not accurate, right? And so what ends up happening when you've got, I'm going to use the word like metabolic derangements, when you have insulin resistance, which can go along with PCOS, when you have things like that happening, your body's physiology isn't working the same anymore. And so this concept of I just eat less and I move more, your body's not responding the same anymore. So we can't go about it in the same way. Your hunger cues don't work the same. You're actually deficient in some of the hormones that you need. You're not responding to other ones that you have a bunch of. That's the resistance part. So things just aren't working properly anymore. Literally, the system's broken. And then we're telling people, well, go do what other people at a lower weight do. And it's just not the same game.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. That's something Alex said on the last episode. Is he said, why are we fixing the problem with the food with food? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So
You have a problem with the food. Let's fix the problem with the food. Yeah. So I
makes me
think
think of-
that's interesting, because that's when I would say like the biggest things that we get. And I don't know if I've told the girls before. So my son, he's 10, and he's seeing me do this, and he has like ideas that he likes to share with me about like what we should do and stuff like that. And he's like, I think that you should have a segment called Crime and Punishment, and you should bring up comments for haters and make them feel stupid. I'm like, well, that's not really mommy's jam, but I still get your point, because one of the biggest comments that I would say we get is, you just need to eat less and move more. And I feel like that
Indeed.
comes from probably a place of people, that definitely were able to do that because maybe they only had 20 or 30 pounds to lose, right? Or maybe they weren't obese their whole lives, or maybe their body has continued to respond at its current state or always state. So it's hard for them to even imagine, like even conceive that this is even possible. Like, what are you talking about, you fat, lazy people? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like that's where the hate comes from. They just don't get it, Yeah. And none of us got it either. And I think that's why we beat ourselves up for so many years, at least the girls on here that I know, But yeah, so so in terms of exercise, like we're saying it's not responding the same, but now that we're on the medicine and we're taking it, right? Like our bodies the physiology, like you said, is different. And we are able to exercise. And like Kat has mentioned before, like she can see her areas like toning, like being toned, and like her muscles, like, showing more, even though she's always been very active. Like, what is it that's going on with that? What makes that change?
I think honestly, the body composition's changing. So you're losing some of that adipose fat and you're holding on to muscle. And so fat takes up much more room than muscle. So you get this leaner look. You look, it's aesthetically what people are going for. But the thing I really want to stress is that exercise does not help significantly with weight loss. It's massive for weight maintenance. So I always say it's dose dependent for weight maintenance. Like, I don't know people that are maintaining weight loss without some form of movement, whether it's walking daily, whatever they like, right? But as far as if you use that as an approach only to lose weight, like I had multiple visits today, majority of them super active women and men that are saying, look, I'm doing all this activity. Why is the weight not down? What the studies show us, there was a really great one that I love. They said 5 hours a day exercise, and people did not, over the course of the year, lose more than 3% of their body weight. That's not clinically significant. So they're busting ass in the gym and the weight's not going down. And you feel that, right? When you're doing like 5-6 hours a week, you're like, I'm putting in the work.
Right.
So I want you to exercise for a million reasons, but not weight loss. I want you to do it to maintain your muscle. I want you to do it for mental health, for cardiovascular health, but not to lose weight. That's not going to be the thing that's going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
I heard that a long time ago. Yeah.
I feel like that's so often in this community. Like, man, I wish I knew that 10 years ago. Like, I legitimately, even through the beginning of this, I was eating like under 1,000 calories a day because that's what I thought I was supposed to do. Because I come from diet culture, right? I come from eat as less as possible, eat cabbage soup, like I come from that world. And when I realized that my body wasn't losing weight, I was able to learn, actually, if you fuel your body will use that. And then you can lose weight. But if you starve it, it's not going to let you, And those are all things that I never knew before until this medication. It really can help you learn things and have a whole new lifestyle,
And it doesn't make intellectual sense, right? Like I really, before I would see the studies, how did it make any sense that you doing more exercise does not move the needle, right? Like is anyone else shocked by that? But it's like repeatedly, the thing that's nice if you work with a doctor that's doing evidence-based medicine, we're looking at studies, we're looking at trials. We're not just seeing what one patient is doing, but what's the trend, right? Like what is actually the reality? And that with more people than not is that it's just not moving the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I can definitely attest to that. I know this time last year, I was working out like 4 to 5 times a week. And because I was on the road to 50. So I was, trying to get myself together. And I think I maybe lost 2 pounds and I was so defeated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Roe now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper. with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
You know what I was going to say, actually, with working out too. So I've learned in the last two or 3 years, I'll get a little bit personal. I lost my dad. This is I lost my puppy, lost my dog, and my husband got sick. And so those last 3 years, working out was the community, the people, that became the point of why I was going. And then it was almost like say, for instance, during a spin class, it was meditative for me. I would just get quiet, maybe get a little weepy in a ride, or just push really, really high numbers. And then just go to my car, maybe just fall into a puddle, maybe, boohoo a little bit sometimes. But that's when I really realized that the exercise is not about cosmetics or vanity. It was really about connecting with people and then getting into a meditative and zone out state for me to keep me from being a little puddle myself.
Yeah. Kat, one of the things I tell, because I kind of work a little bit more holistically with people, and it's a way to process emotions. And a lot of the time, if you have food challenges, there's a tendency to have a hard time connecting with yourself, and food kind of just like numbs it out a lot. It tastes good, it really does.
Yeah.
And exercise connects you with yourself again. Just like the same way that listening to music, it's beautiful what you just shared, what you got out of it. It wasn't the scale, right? But look how much it changed your life to have that as an outlet.
Yeah, I think people do forget like the connection of like other humans, other people that you work out with. That's really important too.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. We've talked a good bit about mental health too, Kat, and you mentioned that too. I think that something that I realized is that when I've gone through, y'all know I've gone through some trauma, right? With some things. And one thing that my doctor would always tell me is, connect with your body, because it's very easy to disassociate, especially if you've gone in like through trauma, right? Is to kind of leave. But if you are doing something physical, even if it's just yoga, she would say, like, even if it's yoga, even if you stretch, even if you go for a walk, like connect with your body. Or even like, we know Rebecca likes to walk on outside because she makes these crunchy noises and makes cool videos. But yeah, I think that's something that and that's something else I wish I had known 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It really does help. It really does. It kind of it really does like make you be more present and more in the moment, instead of going and trying to soothe other places with other things. Yeah.
I was going to say that was a big thing that I've noticed this go around, losing the weight in the past. I worked out to punish myself. I worked out because I ate the wrong things and I was angry at myself. So I would work out. Now, when I'm working out, now that I'm on Mounjaro is doing a lot of the work for me. I mean, as far as helping my body channel what I'm doing, I'm working out because I enjoy doing it and it makes me mentally happy, not because I ate a piece of cake and by God, I need to go for a walk. So I think that's been a huge difference for me this go around. So
for sure. Something that I've learned too about that and what you're saying is it's like, and this girl, Catherine, that I met in our community, I don't know if you know her, but she's like, food does not have moral worth. If you eat a food and you call it a good food versus a bad food, like that's not a thing. Like you're the one with the moral worth. That's just food. It's just fuel. Like it's either, fuel that's great or it's kind of like lower grade fuel, but it's not good or bad. You know what I mean? And that's been a big part of my healing too. I think with the connection with the food, because I don't know about you guys, but I for sure had a complete sever of emotional tie to food. And it was like overnight. I woke up and I did not know what to do with myself. Like it was it was just like someone just cut a cord and I didn't know how to get dopamine or anything. So I had to relearn all of that. And honestly, I learned it through our community because other people were going through similar stuff, So, I mean, it's really fascinating what these medications can do, Yeah.
And speaking of say mental health and how it correlates, I'm going to kind of just build out onto actually a question that I did have for you was for Dr. Rentea is, is that part of the pillar of all of the aspects of, I don't want to call it weight loss, but obesity treatment, the mental health, the exercise, what kind of things, what elements do you factor into the whole spectrum?
Yeah. There are a few really big pillars of, I always say weight management. That's the term I like to say, because I like to think we've got to manage this for life. You're going to have some periods that are great and other periods where you struggle, but there's nutrition, what we're eating, there's exercise or movement, there's behavioral health, meaning how we're thinking and feeling and sort of how we're processing the world. There are medications, and then there's surgery. And I'm sure there's another one that I'm forgetting, but those are, sort of big ones. And the challenge is all of us don't have problems in all the areas. And that's the thing that's tricky about it. So everyone assumes, let me tell you, when I see someone new, the story that they've always been told is that people always think that they're eating horrible food in massive amounts and sitting on the couch. And that's just not true for everyone. And so I think the main thing is when you're looking at this, it's what areas could I work on that can be beneficial to me, that I'm willing and able to do, but not everything is going to have to get overhauled. So some people, I find maybe their nutrition's actually great, but they're stressed out 24/7. They hate their job. They're really they're high cortisol 24/7 due to that. So that may be something more to work on, or stress management techniques, even more so than what they're eating. I mean, you have to look at, or if they're not sleeping, that's massive. So it's where is it that life is not supporting you and it's showing up as weight that you don't want? There's usually a key there that's playing into it.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I wish someone had said that to me 2 years ago.
It makes me think also with addiction counseling, giving yourself maybe personal goals versus being focused on say the addiction, which I would argue we probably all have a little bit of a food addiction, right?
I have a TikTok addiction. It's serious.
Too. Yeah.
I'm getting help for it.
But actually giving you goals to work on for yourself, or maybe projects, things that you put off because you've been isolating or maybe numbing. Would that fall under mental health?
That does. So I want to give you an example, because I just thought of this as we were talking. So one of the ways that I first entered this space was through me getting weight loss coaching, because I thought, this was before I found obesity medicine. This was years ago. And I said, there has to be another way, because I'm having a hard time with my weight and I'm a doctor. And, I was looking at this. One of the things that we did in this program, so we looked at how to process emotions and how to do all that. But one of it was building out hobbies. Now, some of you might laugh. You're like, oh, don't you have hobbies? I had no hobbies. There was nothing. And she had to say, this was a doctor that was running it. She was like, a hobby is not something where you're making income. A hobby is not something where you are, where you're being productive. It's just fun. You're just being. You don't have to explain it to someone. And I had to rack my brain for what that would be. So that's building out the tools of what other aspects of life you like, because often food just gets such a center stage, and it's not your fault. It's very normalized, right? That we have a dessert after dinner, or you go out to eat with friends. A lot of things are food centric.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. If you stop valuing that, okay, you don't have any of this other stuff built out. So I actually had to spend time, like, I enjoy taking a walk. I'm going to make a scrapbook for my kid. I'm going to just sit in silence. I really like sitting in silence. Like, I don't get enough of that. I consider that a hobby.
I think moms can attest. Yeah.
So like building out those kind of things, they matter because those are, then you know other ways to relax. But for me to say, don't use food, it's a very triggering thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely.
And I do remember like going through this journey, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but like the holiday piece, right, is when you're going to be with your family and there's going to be food and people are going to talk, they're all going to be eating the food with the food and talk about the food. And you don't want to eat the food because you just really don't want to eat the food. It's not like you're trying, like when you're dieting, you're like just trying everything you can to stay away from the food, right? Or if you're like giving yourself some celebratory day and then the next day you're going to, abuse yourself in the gym to make up for your bad choice, but I always wondered, like, it was at the beginning of this, it was very much like a dread. I dreaded what that was going to be like. And it was incredibly uncomfortable, right? Because I knew people were going to be like, try this. I don't want to, and I was still trying to figure out that whole emotional connection severing situation that I had going on with food, and then now it's different. Now I'm able to be like, it's fine if I have the food, it's not a big deal. It's just a piece of food, but it took me a long time to get there. Have you guys experienced that with like family get-togethers or the holidays?
Yep.
Yeah.
So usually family, you would drive me to eat. But, yeah. Or
that's how my mom was always going, it's the thing, and I'm like, I don't want that thing. But she would also kind of out the other side of her mouth when I was growing up be like, eat. And then she'd be like, you're eating too much. Like, it's just like mixed messages all the time.
I think everybody's mom was like,
that's still there. Like, regardless of that, she's not like that anymore. It's still there,
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. But Janine, I think you had a question for Dr. Rentea.
Oh, yes, I do. Dr. Rentea, we're starting to see a lot of.
No.
None of this. All right, ready? 5,
4,
3, 2, 1. Oh no, it's a bad one. There we go.
Oh, we got movement though. See,
exactly. We got there. It was 7. It was
we did the countdown.
Real cliffhanger.
Okay, look, we're gonna try this again, but thank God for editing, so I'll make it quick. So, Dr. Rentea, we're starting to see a lot of cracking down on GLPs from like pharmacy benefit managers and insurance companies, like with doctors prescribing them, especially off-label. We've recently heard that some pharmacies are changing their policies and won't sell a GLP off-label at all. Why do you think that is? And, when there's already such a huge issue with availability and affordability?
Yeah. So I think that the crackdowns from insurance, it's coming from, they want to save money, right? So they, for example, like unless someone has a type 2 diagnosis, they don't want to cover it off-label for something else. To me, it's 100% them trying to do cost savings. I think we've talked about this before, that most people statistically are on an insurance plan for less than 3 years. So they know that you're going to drop off the panel real quick. They don't care about your long-term health. So that's number one. They're wanting to save money. The pharmacies are actually on the hook that if they don't get paid by the drug company, they then have to eat the cost. So they then want to make sure they're verifying the diagnosis, for example, like type 2. But as far as, I think they're still letting people, if they're doing cash pay, purchase it, even if it's not with that diagnosis code, like if it's off-label for weight management. But really, what's just so disheartening is how much they're just trying to, it's almost like a witch hunt, how they're trying to go after off-label use when one out of 4 medications are written off-label. And why are we targeting the weight management space, right? Mm-hmm. It's no different there. And so again, I just always find it's a way for, no one wants to pay for the medicine. They're not thinking about people's long-term health.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which that's what we were talking about, is that we thought it was pretty much a cost savings, approach. But But also, and Dr. Rentea, I have one more question. So I've recently discovered an article that discusses how insurance companies are sending letters to doctors saying if they find a doctor is prescribing off-label, they may, report them to the state board or even law enforcement. So this seems a little drastic. Is prescribing medications off-label illegal all of a sudden? Also, why is this so different for these medications than other medications? And lastly, how do you feel about the validity of this letter? And is there, anything that they can do to really enforce this?
Yeah. So first of all, I've seen the letter because I'm friends with a lot of colleagues and, people share we stay connected as a community obesity medicine physician. So I have seen these. And it is not illegal to prescribe things off label, right? They might not like it, but again, 1 out of 4 meds. It's a very common practice in medicine. It's just that this area is very targeted. It is not illegal in absolutely any capacity. What they're implying is that those doctors are lying because they'll look at the panel and they'll say, well, half your meds are off label. So they're implying that those doctors are making up like a type 2 diabetes diagnosis, right? Or that they're making up things that are not valid in the chart. But the reality is if you have an obesity medicine panel, more of your patients are going to have different types of medications compared to like a traditional primary care setting, things like that. So there's nothing illegal about it. I think it's a scare tactic, and they're doing absolutely anything that they can to influence prescriber patterns. And I think it's really sad, to be honest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, what are the chances that they would even do something like that?
There's nothing illegal there. There's nothing.
That's great feedback. I'm just glad we were kind of, okay. Yeah. I'm glad you set the record straight.
Yeah.
They might not want to cover it, but they can deny it, things like that. But if the correct diagnosis codes are used and everybody's doing things ethically, writing for medications off label, in no other area in medicine is it villainized like it is in obesity medicine. We really have this war going on of moralizing what medical conditions are worthy of treatment and not. And I think it's quite sick, to be honest, that we don't value treating obesity when if we could do that, we could actually prevent diabetes and a lot of things. And we say, no, it's an illness model, right? You have to be 1,000,000% sick before we treat. Why is one worthy over another? Honestly, the drug manufacturers, they should be making more. If you know that, 3 out of 4 people would qualify for the medicine, the demand's there. Why are we all turning on the doctor, the patient, things like that? It's a supply issue, right? And that's where a lot of the problem's coming from.
Yeah. And I run my mouth on TikTok a lot about the media and all the bullshittery that goes on there with these medications. And, I have coined that term, bullshittery. And, but I really think it's because they're spinning it they want to get as far away from being accountable for making those poor choices as possible. And so one of the easiest way is to villainize obesity, to villainize fat people, you know what I mean? It's one of the easiest things to do because people will latch onto it because in America, especially, people want someone to win.
It's like everyone's trying to point the finger at someone else, right? So the insurance companies, a big thing I've seen as a clinician is that I will submit a prior authorization or do something, and then they'll deny it, but they keep telling the patient, no, all you need is for your doctor to fill out a form because they want to get them off the phone. It's like, you've denied it. This is the reason you're giving, but the customer service is like, no, it's just a form, and so they're lying to the patient, and maybe they don't, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but everyone is sort of misinformed and trying to point the finger at everyone else, and then no one is winning in the end.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Speaking of type 2, so something that Rebecca had shared with her story is that she actually had a particular A1C, and I can't remember the number, and you can share that with Rebecca, but, kind of found out that later by going to a doctor that was a specialist in obesity, as opposed to like her primary doc, it turned out she was type 2. So she was like misdiagnosed. Rebecca, feel free to keep me honest here, make sure I'm saying things right. Like what, if you want to add details, that'd be good. Cause I
had my blood work done and it was at 6.7. And my understanding now is that actually made me a type 2 diabetic. I think what my doctor did is because right after that's when she prescribed me Mounjaro. I assume what she was trying to do was the hopes that Mounjaro would lower my A1C and that I would not be a type 2. because I think she had mentioned to me that creates sometimes more issues with other insurance things that happen in the future. So I'm hoping she was trying to do that in hopes to not diagnose me as a type 2 diabetic. However, with the whole Mounjaro situation, that could have potentially put me in the chances of not being approved with my PA and, now.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't until I talked to Dr. Mitchell, per Kim, that he was like, well, that actually made you type 2. So this whole time I could have had a PA approval. But my doctor even said that when I went in to talk to her about it, that even with a type 2 diagnosis, she isn't able to get her other type 2 diabetes patients the Mounjaro PAs approved. So I don't know what she's maybe lacking in what she's doing, but
I don't think she might not necessarily be lacking. So a lot of the time, just because it's on the formulary doesn't mean that they can't still require step therapy. So what's tricky with type 2, let's just talk type 2 for a second. Sometimes you need to have done the oral medications and then the other GLP-1s. And then last is Mounjaro. It's like a tier 3. And so often it's not that they're doing it in a wrong way. It's that you have certain step therapy. And is that doctor willing to go through a year or two of walking through it with you until you get to Mounjaro? Because they want to cover something cheaper, right? So if Ozempic can get it done, if some of the oral medications, we actually have lots of medication for type 2 diabetes, right? We do not for obesity treatment. But so a lot of the times what is required, all the doctors don't necessarily know. And it's a very time intensive process, right? To know, listen, you have to fail XYZ. So we have to go try those. It's a lot of work to do that.
Yeah. I think that's like also what it seems. And I remember, I think it was a video of yours, Dr. Rentea, where you were like, GPs, they see like doctors every like 15 minutes. They don't have enough time, like with how they practice, to be able to sit down with you and have these like in-depth conversation or be doing these really complicated PAs for a complicated disease, and I think that that's an example, I think too, of like, I have both now. Like it wasn't until I recognized through this process that I do have obesity. I do have many other related things because of it, that I want someone for the rest of my life to oversee the obesity piece. I still love my general and they have a place in my life and my healthcare. But for me, because I know this is complex and I know this is something I'll likely be dealing with forever, that I want that oversight. And I think I've seen a big difference in being able to have that in my, like just in general, I just feel much more cared for,
Right. Yeah. And it's just, it's number one, it's like, not only do they not have the time, but also the body of research to stay on top of is massive in obesity.
Yeah.
So they might be getting, I remember when I was doing mainly primary care, I was reading journals all the time. So you get these, think like magazines, and there's like little highlights of all the different topics, right? So you're staying on top of massive amounts of things. You're just not going to know a little specific example for someone, or how to this or how to that or how to pivot. You just don't know, because kind of like the basic stuff, and they just don't have time to go through it. It's not that they're not meaning well, and some of them do great if they can.
Right. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask now, with especially primary cares and with doctors just having so much on their plate. And with GLP-1s now, more people are being prescribed them. What do you all think, and especially Dr. Rentea, about, is there a way to maybe have an advocate that could be like a go-between between the patient and the doctor, that for people that are on GLP-1s?
Yeah, it's a resource issue. So for example, a lot of what I see getting done, first of all, I'm happy for anyone to get the medicine. And I'm so happy if a primary care doctor can get all their patients that need that help, right? A lot of what I see though is they're doing some help, but maybe not super optimally. Like they'll be like, hey, here's a 3-month prescription of the lowest dose. Come see me back in 3 months. And ideally, you kind of lost time, because you could have probably adjusted or done different things. But hey, something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, like, could there be someone that is not necessarily the physician, but sort of like a mid-level, or someone else take it over? 1,000,000%, but who's going to pay for it? So this is another thing. Obesity medicine is actually reimbursed super horribly. And so the reason that people end up going and doing like cash practices like me, it's because you cannot deliver the level of care that you want if you're sort of doing regular reimbursement, because it's not reimbursed at a specialist level. It's reimbursed regular, if not even that, because you're spending even more time for the certain level of code that you're using.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah. I don't know. It's worth it for me. And I think it is for a lot of people, like to have sort of that like subscription type of thing where you're able to
I myself have that as well. Like I myself, obesity medicine physician, it's a monthly service. It's that ability to just like every other day there's a shortage, there's a this, there's a that. Like I just want to be able to have someone else help me. Even as a physician, I need that help as well.
Yeah. And I also think too, when you get these things from insurance or when you come across these things, taking these medications, you have questions and you need to be able to have a good relationship, with your doctor to be able to ask them. And like, that's one thing, because I've tried a couple, and the one that I have now, like they will explain things to me. Do you know what I mean? And they will listen to what I have to say. And I'll be like, I don't understand. And they will take the time to explain it, and there's no way, like right now, the nurse practitioner I see for general health, she works 2 days a week because she's a busy mom and she has young children. And so she's home most of the time. And so if I send her a message, I'm not going to hear after those 2 days, I'm not going to hear from her for a week. So it's very difficult when you're dealing with something as complex and kind of like a moving target, right? Which is trying to get in a healthy state, I do think that that's been a big difference for me as well. We've seen, and Janine kind of mentioned her experience with one particular pharmacy recently that basically called her doctor. She said show, so I'm just going to bust her. But called her doctor to verify that she was type 2. Like they took it to that extent before they would fill her Mounjaro. And then we were kind of hearing on TikTok, and you never know like what's 100% true or like what the caveats are, but that some of the pharmacies are saying they will not give you a GLP-1 at all. That whether you have a PA or what you're taking off label and it's approved, whether your insurance covers it, that they will big fat not give it to you. That was pun intended. Only not, but not give it to you at all, because they're making this policy around this, because they're saying that it's because of audits that they're getting from the PBM, that they're getting audits from manufacturers, so paying out the coupon, paying that difference out. Like, what do you know about that? Because we're all just kind of speculating and we don't really know. What you got?
So I personally have not experienced that. Again, I practice in Indiana, Illinois. I have not seen them saying we're not going to give it out, period. I have patients that do cash pay, that do not have a type 2 diagnosis, that are on things off label, people on regular insurance. So that I have not experienced. But again, I do hear a lot about how the pharmacies take the heat for it. And so And by the way, there's always a delay in things, right? So like things that they did however many months ago, now it's coming home to roost. I will tell you a trend that I'm seeing, though. Multiple of the big insurances are now, as of going into July, they're requiring everybody have new prior authorizations. So even if things were covered and maybe we got 6 months, a year, they're like, nope, now you're going to make everyone redo it because they changed. We're not going to do any off-label prescribing, and we're going to make you prove the diagnoses, things like that.
Wow. Jeez, Louise. Yeah, mine is every 6 months right now. They changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's another, like if we can talk about that too, with people getting care, again, it limits down what physicians can handle that, because I have some people, every dose that they go to, we have to redo a prior authorization. And at first I thought it was a joke. I'm like, is this for real? Because these new things pop up out of nowhere, right? Like they're not happening. And then suddenly everyone, you're like, why are we suddenly I thought we just handled this last month. Nope.
Right.
Yeah, they do continue to change things. And we kind of made a joke last episode. We were like, it's funny, like when you see terms and conditions for like these savings cards and stuff, it's basically like, we reserve the right to change anything we want at any time.
Anytime.
Let's deal with it.
Everything can change, but you're seeing more people that need a PA for every dose. And I've
been hearing that some people need it every month. Some insurance are just saying every month you got to do a new one. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just bananas. Yeah. That's why PA requests are going up so high, you ding dongs, because you keep making all these people do this stuff. It's like,
right. The funny thing is, if they keep fighting it, but really at the end of the year, it's all going to really change, right? Like it's not going to be really off label, right?
Well, are we speculating? The study's already done. We know the evidence is in. It's great, right? And now it was purely weight loss related, that trial. So we know it'll get approved, but then again, then they might still say, if your insurance covers it, if it's not a plan exclusion, you've got to do blah, blah, blah first. And they're always going to start with like the old oral generics. Like, Metformin. Orlistat, which is Zenical. I'm like, we haven't written that in like 30 years.
Orlistat? Are they still really? Oh my God. That's not that makes you,
yeah. And that's the thing is that, yeah.
And that's the thing is, I think they will continue to make things as difficult as possible, and they will do. And I think that some people, because it's such a pain, will give up, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're definitely looking to try to make you do, and then you just give up. But like, there's anything that I can say to our listening or viewing audience, especially if you're going through this, do not fucking give up. This is not that thing. This is not the thing you give up on. There are other things you give up on. Maybe you give up on the cake. You know, there are other things, but getting the medication that you need for your health is the thing you don't, you know, because it is not your fault. They have proven it with science. It is not your fault.
If we can get everybody, like if just don't stop, you have like a movement like that. That's
what we're working on.
Like get yourself a team where they keep doing these things for you, right? Because you yourself cannot be appealing it and running after it all the time. But if your doctor has a team behind them, they will be able to just keep doing these things. That's just part of what is needed. And if you don't have that, it gets really hard.
Yeah. And that's why I think we talked about on your episode originally when we started, is that the telehealth obesity specialty piece has been huge for people that, especially people in rural areas. Yeah. Because they are like, well, I don't have obesity specialists, you know, or I don't this or I don't that. And even though you do pay a monthly fee, it's fairly affordable, like especially for what you get, you know? And I think that it's just really important that people are able to get people that understand this is a very complex disease, and these medications are also very complex. And I think that's why when I hear these trends right now, like people going to med spas where they get Botox and getting their GLP-1 injection, I'm like, these medicines are made for you to do it yourself. I don't know what's going on. Why are they charging you for this? Like I don't, you know, like and why are you going to a med spa? Is there a doctor there? Or even if it's not a doctor, like just a medical professional that doesn't just do Botox, like someone that actually understands. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that right now, and people doing even affiliate marketing for that kind of thing. And it's terrifying.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Not to mention, we're seeing like all the trends of people being so frustrated by all these hurdles we're discussing that they are going and, you know, paying people like individuals, and not even like reputable compound pharmacies, but like just going and like paying people for semaglutide. And it's an individual, and it's very, very scary. Or mixing it up at home. Like,
oh my gosh, you highlighted that video, Kim. I was horrified when you showed me how she had a manual on how to do it. I mean, it was horrifying to me thinking of mixing something up randomly at home and injecting. Like, it just horrendous. So bad. Please do not do it if you're listening to this.
Don't do that.
It is not a good idea.
Don't.
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 Let's
not do that.
I mean,
it's not worth it. The whole point is to get better, right? Not to put yourself at risk and get worse. And what it does bother me, and I rant about this quite a bit, so you guys all know, but that the reason that we're in this position, right, to take these massive risks is because of the first time in our history of us, we have found something that has corrected our body, and we are able to be our best selves in many different ways, right? Which is kind of talked about at the beginning around like mental health and everything. And so now, because of the system, we're being put in this position where we're having to take absolutely ridiculous risk. And because of the cost of these medications also, frankly, and the availability and the scarcity, you know, and I hate that. Like, if there's anything that I can't stand, and I wish that insurance would realize they're just so short-sighted. So like when we had Dr. Meyer on, she mentioned actually insurance kind of sees you as like a patient for about 4 years. Then they think you'll move on and get another company or get another plan or something like that. So when that happens, they don't necessarily care about the long-term health. What I don't get is if 40% of America is obese, it's right. The next guy or next girl or whatever comes right behind them has the problem and the other insurance kicked him down the road too. So it is everybody's problem. And I wish they would just realize that, because when people go and they make these very scary decisions to do these things that we're talking about, and then they come back and they have now hurt themselves another way, insurance is going to have to pay for that. So like, it's just this massive cycle, and it's just vicious, and it drives me insane. And I can imagine that as a provider, it drives you crazy too.
You, like me, you're having a very like, for the greater good, what can we do and how can everybody be helped? And that's not how these people think.
No. It is not. They do not care. No.
Could it be kind of like teetering on like, say, not conspiracies, but like just the theories? Like, is that not enough money to be made in that? Is there more money to be made in diabetes medication for actual straightforward diabetics?
I don't think like that. I think the main thing is that we still, despite years and years and years of this being an official diagnosis, people still think that it's, you're not working hard enough, you don't have enough discipline. Yes. And I really think that the tide will turn in our lifetime where it's totally accepted, the medication's covered. A lot of this, number one, the bias and stigma need to be dropped. Number two, Medicare needs to cover it, because then other insurance, other people after that. So we'll see it fall like dominoes eventually, but now, and maybe it'll require more generics, right? Like next year we'll get liraglutide, which is Saxenda, Victoza for diabetes, that will go off patent. So I suspect that that's going to happen. And one day we'll be like, remember when we were talking about, that'd be great.
Dr. Alex Guevara said that too. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're in the middle of like an evolution. Yeah.
And I think that's good. Like, it at least gives me hope, to think that, and y'all know I can be a little sunshine and rainbows sometimes, but at least it makes me think that things, like you said, are moving in the right direction. The tide is turning. I don't know about the stigma. I think that will stay with us quite a while, but at least with this podcast, we're trying to find more people to let them know they don't have to feel that way, and that they can come in our community and that they are welcome here. So we're kind of moving the piece that we can and doing the things that we can.
Yeah. One of the things is we have to help children that are suffering with this, because one of the things with stigma and bias, you're told it so many times, you internalize it. That's the internalized oppression. And then you believe it, and that's the place you act from. And so if we can't help our kids to realize that size diversity is a fact and you're not broken, and so parents have to de-diet culture themselves in order to help their children. And so this is like multi-generational how it's going to go down.
I feel like Kim and I are we're healing post that. Like now I feel like I finally, like, because we're coming out of it in our 40s, but it's been internalized, I would say, the majority of my life. Like I guess, is it humility or humble? Like you just don't feel worthy enough to speak up because you were always kind of the butt of jokes, the reason for, you can't be like other kids, like things like that. And you broke my earring. It just came apart. But anyway, but you really touched on it's something that I know that maybe I forgot, because that's exactly what we went through. Like it's a 40-year recovery from it. So it's true. The kids going through this now, it's crucial. Like, give them the self-esteem that we didn't, we just missed.
Sure. I mean, it's like, and then when we had that one episode where we talked about childhood obesity, and, Kat and I obviously can relate, but where we were talking about, like, there are actually pediatric specialists that specialize this. And like, he explained to us like what use cases were around that. And he was saying, like, maybe we don't do a life threatening surgery on a child. Maybe we treat them with the medication, and we had never, before that conversation, I was like, but it's important to have the conversation, science has progressed so much now, and those are precious years, and so important. And I don't know if, again, like looking back, if it's something that I would have done. My mom was really big on her brain has not developed yet. She ain't taking anything. So I don't know, but I also think that's kind of maybe a little way of thinking in a way. So for a 12-year-old, but I don't know. But I think it's time for us to, like you said, try to get ahead, maybe that our children don't have to deal with the same things that we did, even if it's society based or medically based, Yeah. Well, this has been grand, despite said technical difficulties.
Awesome.
We've had a good conversation, I think. But thank you so much for joining us again, Dr. Rentea. We really appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
a friend of the Plus Side
Thanks.
and
Yeah,
joining
friend
us to help
of the
us.
Plus Side.
Yes, we really want to be able to validate, the experiences that we have, so people don't just dismiss us. And so your knowledge really does help that. And we're going to try to do everything we can to change things. So we really appreciate your time.
Love that. You guys I love your podcast so much.
Oh, we love yours too. Kat and I would listen to it too.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. And I recommend it all the time in my lives. I'm like, and before we go, because I'm going to ask you this because I'll forget. If anybody hasn't listened to Dr. Matea Rentea's podcast, please do. And also, what are the 2 episodes on your podcast? Because I reference them on my lives a lot that specifically talk about all of the medications used for weight.
Yeah.
There are 2 episodes and they're very, very good. And what season and what are the episodes?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
So first of all, the podcast, I would love if any of you guys want to listen to it. So if you're someone that you want to learn evidence-based things about medicine, I throw in there a little bit of some of the mindset things, but I try to keep it a little bit, not boring medical, but just kind of help out with a little bit of just.
Oh, it's super helpful.
Right. Like what's happening. So it's called The Obesity Guide with Matea Rentea, MD. And the episodes that you're talking about, it's right in the beginning. It's like, I don't know, I want to say like 3, 4, but it's part 1 and 2. So it's right, like go all the way back to the beginning, past the little first intro. And I did that to begin with because I knew that people were just going to want that. So part 1, I go over all the medications. And then part 2 is kind of where can you find an obesity medicine doctor? What are some of the things that logistically, can you combine meds? Can you this, can you that? So those are really like the nuts and bolts. If you want an introduction to oral FDA approved weight loss medications as well as injection, everyone's always talking about injection, but there are other options, even if your insurance doesn't cover it, that are generic. Like, just open your mind that there are options. You might need to tell your doctor. So I have a lot of people that actually tell their doctor about it, and then their doctor listens and then they help them.
Wow.
Yeah, because
that's fantastic.
Unfortunately, in this area, and we know, like we've learned through this process, that it's actually, in terms of medicine and specialties, it's kind of new. Like it's not like, so because of that, there's not enough knowledge out there, and certainly not a lot of, medical professionals that are going and getting board certified. So I think if you're able to advocate for yourself, which is another reason we do this podcast, right, is for you to be able to understand that it is okay to respect and demand a certain level of care. And unfortunately, sometimes that's going to be educating yourself so you can educate others, you know? What other places can we find you on social media?
Yeah, perfect. So I am most active on TikTok and Instagram. Those are the 2 where you can find me. So it's Matea Rentea, MD. That's where I'm everywhere. I know I need to do YouTube and other things. There's only so much I can do. So
I get it.
If
we really get it.
Ask me questions, you leave them on videos, things like that. I do a pretty good job on TikTok, like getting back to majority of those, just a really easy way between my day to kind of get back to stuff. And also Instagram is more like written stuff if you like that. But otherwise, I'm really into doing videos.
Yeah. I like the videos too. It's good stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. I will include Dr. Rentea's socials and a link to her podcast in the show notes so that you guys can watch it if you like. It's wonderful. And but thank you so much for coming. And Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today and telling your story.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
I get messages every episode from at least one person that says, that sounds like me. And you will change their life. And they say, I will go talk to my doctor. And it's because they hurt you. So thank you for coming and sharing your story and being vulnerable.
You're welcome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much, everyone. Well, that was fabulous, right?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Like, despite technical difficulties.
I know. Technical difficulties abound.
I love you.
Yeah.
Yes, but I thought it was a really good conversation. And especially like even with Rebecca, and like, I think it's important for us to talk about too, like when a doctor is looking at your blood work and they don't want to label you, but that label may be what you need to get the medication and the care that you need. And that was a perfect example, right? Because I think that not all doctors realize, especially we know about type 2, which is, it is chronic. And chances are once you've gotten to a certain A1C, you're always going to have to manage it. It's not just going to go away. It's not curable. You'll manage it with food or you'll manage it with medicine or whatever. But even like we talked about that, right? When we had on Dr. Toomer, She's like, you can turn your blood sugar around with one meal, but
Yeah.
if it's at the point where they're tracking it monthly and they're giving that A1C, like that's very, very important,
Yeah.
So I think unfortunately we're going to have to do a lot, I think, as a community to be educated in our areas so that we can advocate for ourselves. I really do,
Yeah, definitely.
The work never stops. Yeah. Sure.
Well, I think we've spent quite a lot of time together tonight, so we can do some classic sign-offs if you guys have anything to share. I am always just going to say that you're not alone. It's not your fault. And I'll always say hasta la pasta. What about you, Kat?
I have been going through this book of quotes by women, and I found one that was awesome. And it's by Georgia. It's Georgia O'Keeffe. She says, "I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life. And I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing I wanted to do."
Awesome.
Wow.
So true. It's funny you say that. That's a really good quote. I actually say that on my lives a lot when people say, I'm scared to start. I'm scared to start.
Yeah.
Like, well, your doctor got you the medicine. It's in your hand. Yeah. So you decided based on data and facts somewhere along the way to do it. And so it's natural to feel afraid, but don't not do it because you're afraid. Like if there's evidence to back it up, go for it.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I get the same thing. Yeah. About fear, but you all know what I always say. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It's a marathon. So we just have to keep going. We got to keep going.
Yeah. We're in it together though. So if you guys don't know about our community, there's not like some weird hashtag. Just go to TikTok.
Unless you want to do butt stuff with Kat.
I mean, butt stuff with Kat is hashtag, and of course the Plus SideZ Podcast.
Quality hashtag and the Plus SideZ.
Yes. Hashtag butt stuff. Hashtag Mounjaro, but
if you don't know,
I need to sit on a pillow.
My handle on TikTok is weird. It's Dinosaur Monkey Farts Kim, because my son made that up in 2020 when we were doing digital learning, and I was like out of my mind, and I joined TikTok, and I just haven't changed it. It's just always going to be Dinosaur Monkey Farts. So if you want to follow me there you go. There's not a whole lot of Dinosaur Monkey Farts out there, so I'm pretty sure you can find it.
It's the best.
Anyway, well, it's been so great hanging with you guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Oh, and we have to talk about the website real quick. So if you go to our website, which is the Plus SideZ, don't forget the Z.com. It's a play on Plus SideZ in case you don't know, if you're new. We have a merch store. So our podcast is completely driven by people donating their time, and we don't have sponsors or anything like that yet. And we're continuing to grow, which is grand. But if you would like to go and purchase something from the merch store to support our show, that will be excellent so that we can continue this obesity advocacy and educational effort that we are trying to do. We want to change things, and we are trying to get as loud as possible. So if you want to go there and pick out some cute swag, because I'm marketing, I had to pick out some cute stuff. We got
a great water bottle for the gym.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
It is there. It's a good time. We've already had several people go in and get things, which is nice, because that'll help us get all of our fees from the things.
Thank you. But you know that I love a good V-neck t-shirt. So
yeah, girl, I got you when it's on the way.
I can't wait.
Kat, there's a water bottle. It's got your name on it, not really, but it's on the way.
I can't wait.
I'll put my name on
it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night, and we will see you next week.
See you
next week.
Hasta la pasta.
If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there, because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim. Today's episode is brought to you by Ro, a telehealth platform that's changing the game of GLP-1 access. What sets Ro apart? Ro understands the challenges of navigating insurance hurdles and the skyrocketing prices of GLP-1 medications. That's why they specialize in getting insurance approvals for GLP-1s. And if insurance is a barrier, they go a step further by prescribing brand name zepbound vials for prices close to those of compound GLP-1s. With Ro, you're not just getting a prescription, you're getting a partner in your journey that's helping you access affordable treatment and guiding you every step of the way. Whether it's insurance approvals or cost-effective alternatives, Ro is here to make sure that you get the medication you need. Visit ro.co/plus SideZ with a Z today to see how they can help you take control of your weight management journey with affordable, accessible care. That's ro.co/plus SideZ with a Z, making healthcare work for you. Check out the link in our show notes for more details. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.